This is critical theorist and postmodern deconstructionist Andrew White. I was privileged to experience Beijing Charlie's massive installation and performance piece, The Orange Cone Project, in Johnson, Vermont this past October. I have summarized my thoughts for presentation, and I am confident that when I have concluded, you will have a thorough understanding of this significant work of post-colonial art. My essay, Chaos and Order in Johnson, Vermont. Simultaneously a kind of radical gesturality and a reification of materiality, Beijing Charlie's The Orange Cone Project is a logical successor to his 2008 piece, Why Not?, where he created the world's largest single-letter art installation. Like its antecedent, this piece engages multiple subjectivities, challenging viewers to slow down, even stop to reconsider the social and physical significance of the spaces they inhabit. To date, too many critics have emphasized genealogies of aesthetic discourse, seeing the piece as largely derivative of the site-specific earthworks of the 1970s and the social interventions of the 1990s, failing to acknowledge both the playful appropriation of these traditions and the serious intentions of interrogating the role of labor and of questioning the meaning of contemporary representations of the North American landscape. The artist does acknowledge his influences, creating miniature earthworks in the vein of Smithson's Spiral Jetty and using flags in ways that echo Jean-Claude and Christo's recent work. But, more significantly, there are implications of autochthonous earthen structures, such as the Great Serpent Mound, built by the Adena peoples of Ohio, as well as of Pop Zhao's dragon installation on the Great Wall, which in turn reflect Beijing Charlie's Sino-indigenous roots. For the artist, naming constitutes an act of violence which valorizes constructed spaces of colonial hegemony across boundaries appropriated by didactic official discourse implicated by mechanisms of cultural production, which altered the native imaginary. The deliberately bland public name of the project, Johnson Village Beautification, obscures the problematics of the beautiful, slyly suggesting a universal definition of beauty and implicating the colonization of the self. What beautification means in the increasingly multivalent global context stands in sharp contradistinction to the question of what it may mean in the apparently monocultural environs of rural New England. In turn, this underlines the exclusion of the other and calls attention to the indigenous history of the land, invoking the genocide of the native population with a surprisingly light hand. The use of the word village in this title is equally crucial, as Beijing Charlie interrogates the meaning of this concept in the transnational context of the 21st century. While the intent of the project might seem to be the revivification of local businesses, with its year-long disruption of traffic, one has to ask what the impact has already been on these very establishments. The artist is telling us that any attempt to save the village through the means of consumer capitalist intervention will, ironically and sadly, destroy it. Critically, this particular village was chosen for its name, as well as for the socio-cultural geography it inhabits. Johnson, a familiar Anglo-Saxon surname, invokes the everyman, while its slang reference to the male member reminds us that this is a phallocentric society, and that the drive to tame the landscape is a traditionally masculine one. With his primary title, The Orange Cone Project, the artist subverts the more public one. Selecting the humble cone to represent this relatively massive construction piece is an act of legerdemain, emphasizing detail over gestalt. The cone stands as an attempt to impose order on this otherwise chaotic scene, directing human traffic through the installation, constraining the viewing, decentering the spectator, and purposely distracting the eye with its bright primary color. But the order is illusory, as indicated by the morasses of mud and the deceptive depths of the puddles, not to mention the traffic snarls and frayed tempers. Despite his terse artist statement, questions kill answers, emblematic of his resistance to, even rejection of, interpretation, Beijing Charlie has created a nuanced work which deliberately transgresses the boundaries of traditional North American landscape rendering, even as it employs its conventions, while concurrently critiquing the very logic of capitalism. We are forcefully reminded that it is critical to radical democracy that we reclaim criticality through the autoethnography of white subjectivity and a reconceptualization of the post-colonial imagination. Thank you.